Okay, so now that we're logged in, I want to check that we're logged in and display the relevant icon from my Google provider in here. So let's go into our code. So in sidebar header here, at the minute we're rendering a account circle icon. So what we want to do is we want to check if we're logged in first of all. And the way we want to do that is if we do const is logged in is equal to auth.current user, like so. And then the auth is coming from our Firebase lib index here. And then all I want to do is console log the is logged in functionality in here. So now if I save and go into my console, we should essentially get a user object come back, which we do here. So that's good. And that is available across the app really. So what I want to do now is get access to the photo URL there. So as you can see, we have a photo URL. So let's get access to that. And we want to do a bit of conditional logic in here. So if is logged in is true, then essentially what we want to do is render something in here. Otherwise, we want to render the account circle icon. So if we just quickly do this, so we have the account circle icon in here. So if is logged in is true, we just want to say p type for now of just some random text. Otherwise, we just want to render the account circle icon, which goes in here. So that's the conditional logic working. So if I save, essentially, because I'm logged in, I should see that text, which is correct. Now, all I want to do is render the relevant UI for this. So what I'm going to do is create a user avatar component. So user avatar component is essentially going to be a common component. So let's go ahead and create that. This is reusable now because there are going to be multiple instances on the app where we need this user avatar. So user avatar.tsx. So it's going to be a simple component, which is essentially a next image component. So I'll just bring my code in here. And essentially, it is a React functional component that takes in an image and an alt tag in here, which are strings. And then we have a class name here, and it renders out a next image component. So let's go ahead and import this in. So the two props that it receives are the image and alt. So the image is going to be the image coming from the is logged in function. So is logged in, and then we have IntelliSense come in here, and I just want to get the photo URL in here, and I want to do optional chaining here, and then the alt text is going to be the is logged in dot, and then I'm just going to put in the email actually. So now if I save that and save all, I'm going to delete the console log. And then can you see here, it says type string or null is not assignable to type string. So what I want to do is if is logged in is not equal to null as the check in here, and that's true, then we want to render the is user avatar. Otherwise, we want to render the account circle icon. And the error is still showing. So I'm going to use TypeScript coercion in here. So image is going to be as a string, or you could wrap it in, which is the other way. So I'll do string like this. So there's multiple ways to fix that error, which is the TypeScript coercion, or you can just convert it into a string like so. So now if I go into the browser, because I'm logged in, I should see that as a new icon, which I am not doing. So let's double check why that is. So if user avatar is equal to null, let's just see if that renders the other one, the other icon. So something is happening there. So let's just check the errors. So essentially the code was working correctly. So if it's not equal to null, then we want to render this user avatar. Otherwise, we want to render account circle icon, which is what is rendering. So we need to log in now. So if we go on to /login and then sign in with Google, so it will authenticate us. And then now you can see here, it has authenticated us, which is correct. And then this is essentially the photo URL in here. So we can see that it is working. We just need to add this onto our next config.js. So let's add that in. So if we go into here, add in the new URL, LH3 of the Google user content, save that. And then we need to restop. And what we also need to do is add some persistence. And you could do that with Firebase. So we will add that into our sign-in function. So let's go ahead and do that as well. So let's just check if this is working correctly, first of all. So at the minute we are signed in, but I just want to see why it's not working. So auth.photo it's called, and not photo URL. That's why it's not working. So in here, the image should be from the stored detail we're using from Firebase. So if we close down this, and in the helper, we close that down as well. And I just want to get into the login button in the handle sign in, we're adding the user to the Firestore, which is the user that we created earlier on. So on the sidebar header in here, it's going to be isloggedin.photo and not photo URL. What I also want to do is console log is logged in to see what I'm getting back. So what we need to do is set persistence from Firebase Auth. So this is going to wrap our sign in with pop-up function. So set persistence, and this takes in two arguments. So the first argument is going to be the auth coming from our auth here, and then the second argument is going to be browser session persistence, which is coming from Firebase Auth again. So that's the first argument. Then we want to add the .then functionality, and essentially we want to close it off, and we could add a catch error in here as well, like so. So set persistent is coming from Firebase, and we want to wrap this inside it. So now if I save, we should have some browser persistence now, which is why the icon wasn't showing earlier on. So let's go into our browser in here. And now you can see the user data is being pulled through, and that is the correct icon showing because I am signed in using my Google provider details in here. So now that is everything set up for the login and the user functionality. If we go in here, we now have a collection of users with the document created by the user ID, and then we have access to the user data in here that we can then use in the application going forward. So next up, what I'm going to do is create the chat UI. So the chat functionality as well will follow after that.